Chicago Bay Area. It's time for Zig in the Zone with Ralph Zig Tycho.
Hey, thank you very much for that introduction. I'm real happy to be here today, especially. My guest is, first of all, how you doing, Paulie? Worried about you all week.
I'm doing well, Ziggy. I'm doing well. Apparently, I'm not zeroed in on the camera, but that's okay. Let's see if that's more centered. There we go. I'm doing well. I'm doing well. People are wondering if we're alive and kicking here in the studio, and yes, we're alive, kicking, and screaming at Edge Studios. So thanks for asking. What's happening with you, big man?
I'm doing all right for an old guy in a small town. So I'm not complaining about anything these days except Donald J. Trump, which is ongoing, and his minions. It's tough to be in a good mood, but this podcast takes my mind off it when we're not talking about politics. So,
and I like it when people speak truth to power. I was watching the beginning of them getting ready for a Roger Waters concert somewhere in the Midwest, and they showed his backdrop on the stage. It said, "Trump is a pig, as big as life, as big as life."
Wow.
So you know, that's why I love this country. I love this country.
Yeah.
Speak your mind.
People are starting to make a difference in changing the mood of the country,
right?
In every way, and the trick is, as Michael Duca, my guest and friend and long-term contributor to Comfortably Zoned, and the book that I wrote, Michael, how are you? I think you'll agree that keeping a positive energy and mood in the light of whatever's going on, because there will be always has been something going on. We're talking about people that grew up listening to the radio when Khrushchev and Kennedy were standing off. So, am I right about the attitude being a big difference?
Through line is shoes, my friend. It's shoes. Khrushchev banged his shoe on the table and said, "We will bury you." Reporter threw his shoe at Bush in Iraq, and now Donald Trump, with his fake assassination attempt, had to stop and pick up his shoes. So,
hey, before that, they had Adlai Stevenson posing for a picture with his feet up on the desk and a hole in his shoe. Well, got to remember the good thing, the good things. So, tell me, Michael, we're going to get to the 1962 Giants, but you're the official scorer. What do you think of the season coming up?
It's going to be interesting. I think the Giants have done a number of things that are going to improve the watchability of the team. I'm not certainly in any way guaranteeing that they're going to compete head-to-head with the Dodgers for first place in that division. They've got they've probably got the toughest division in all of baseball that they're playing in. They might well be a second-place team in the Central Division. They will probably wind up being a fourth or third-place team in the West. But I do think that they have a shot at becoming a wild card team this year. And based on what we've seen the last few years, that's not a bad thing.
No, it isn't. Is Posey going to make a difference in the organization?
I think he is making a difference in the organization. The organization, we all know how pendulums work. And the pendulum had swung too far in the analytics direction. And I'm an analytics guy, early SABR member, worked with the baseball workshop and other entities that really helped to popularize analytics, was on the board of directors of Bill James Project Scoresheet. But there's a balance there. Analytics are great. They describe what probabilities are, but human beings don't work on probabilities. If they did, nobody would ever go to the casino.
Right. And how a guy is feeling that particular day makes a manager, if he's astute, a good manager, and not necessarily the hunch, but communication with the manager is so important.
I think one of the most important things in any job, but in particular in such a public and skills-driven job as being a professional athlete, I think one of the most important things is being able to trust who you work for. And by that, I mean being able to go up and say, Skip, today's not my day. I need to sit out today, but I'm ready tomorrow, and have faith that tomorrow you're going to be back there. You're not going to be left behind. You're not going to get Wally pipped because you asked out for a day.
How many players communicate that way? It sounds perfect, but how many players can go up to a manager and say that?
Well, let's take it a step back further, Ralph. How many managers can make a player feel comfortable doing that? Because after all, the manager controls your access to the lineup. He controls your access to the amount of work you get in, which make control access to your incentives.
Your job itself sometimes.
Yeah, and I think the answer to that question is it probably happens more often with veterans who have established themselves both within the organization and within the manager's mindset. And it's probably very difficult for a young player who is terrified that today will be the last day of the rest of his life.
Right.
But it doesn't matter. It's how it has to be. I heard, the Warriors retired Andre Iguodala's jersey over the weekend. I happened to be working that game for ESPN, and I heard something in there. Steph Curry said something that just really resonated with me. And he said, champions learn how to put aside ego in favor of excellence. I think that's a true statement in all categories, in all fields. I know as an official scorer, I'm fortunate enough to be one of the longest tenured scorers in the country now, starting my 25th season. And I get together with the younger scorers. They always ask, the old farts to get up and say something intelligent and inspirational. Good luck with that. But what I always tell people is our job is not to be right. Our job is to get it right. And by that, what I mean is you have to check your ego out on the sidewalk with the scalpers and
to pay attention. That is that not one of the most important? The concentration that you guys have must be used.
We work at such a granular level, Ralph, that when it's over, I can't always tell you who won or what the score was.
Wow.
We are so concentrated on the intricacies, the fine points, which way were his feet turned as he approached the base. He booted that ball. Was he going to second with it, or was it just a straight error? Is it a fielder's choice? All of the kinds of things that we have to see, recognize, categorize, and call literally within a couple of seconds.
You've done it 25 years. Incredible. You've had a great career. And it's not just baseball. All year long, I follow you. You've got something called A View from the Press Box on Facebook.
Right. I like
Tell me about that. Tell me about that. How did it get started? And how cool is that?
Well, one of the things that I always remember, Ralph, I've had press box access now for almost 35 years. I never forget, how hard it was to get it in the first place.
Right.
and see how special it is. There is a 7-inch thick brick wall that separates me from the paying customers at Oracle Park. Literally, that's it. But the chasm that breaches is incredible because I have access to things that they don't have access to. And I have access to things that they want to have access to. And my job is to bring them as close to that access as I'm allowed to. And I felt that one way of doing that was letting people see where we work from. Sometimes that office view sucks. Sometimes it's horrible. You know, there's window posts in the way, there's people in the way, that I can't see half the football field or half the basketball court. And other times it's absolutely unbelievable. It was unbelievable to be center court when Tara Vanderveer won her 1,000th game. There are times, there are moments like that, sitting in the scorer's chair for Pablo Sandoval, taking future almost teammate Justin Verlander to the woodshed in the World Series. Things like that are extraordinary, and to the best of my ability to try and share that with people as you can in a static photograph, I like to do that. It's not me showing off, hey, look where I am. It's, you can't be here. This is as close as you can get, and I'm happy to share it with you.
And you see things in your photographs that aren't shown in a telecast. For instance, your background. You capture the background of the stadium so well, it adds to the beauty of the picture.
And that's a big thing for me. I work college football for ESPN. I usually do about 12 games each season, and I've been fortunate enough to travel to some pretty fun and exciting venues and try to give people a little bit of the feel for that. Sure, you get some beauty shots, you get some crowd shots during the game, but it's a different feeling to show what the stands are like as people are coming in, to show, maybe post a 15-second video of the teams or the marching bands coming into the stadium, something like that gives you a feel for it. When I went to Auburn, I was able to photograph the War Eagle flying around the stadium and landing about 50 feet away from me right outside the press box.
A good example. You capture the ambiance of going to a college football game. It's much more important than the game itself. Game itself to most people, unless you're betting.
Yeah, well, yeah. We won't even get, you said we're going to leave politics out of this, and to me, betting is part of politics at this point.
Oh, of course. I was just making a little humor.
Yeah, I understand. It's, I think the ambiance is really important in college sports because college sports are surprisingly driven by alumni and not current students. Current students make up a small portion of the crowd. They make up an even smaller portion of the revenue stream. So college sports is really for the alumni. And as such, what it really is an opportunity to, I'm going to say, indulge yourself in nostalgia a few times a year. You get together with people you knew back then, you renew acquaintances, you renew friendships, you remind each other of things that maybe you wanted to forget.
Right.
And I think that it's a good way of getting in touch with ourselves in a linear fashion. One thing to be in touch with who you are right now, but it's also another thing to be in touch with the through line that goes back to where you came from and how you got there.
Hey, let's hear from Micah. Let's hear from Paulie a little bit, because you are so astute, Paul, that I'm sure you appreciate having Michael as a guest.
For sure, absolutely. And I have to agree. I think college sports is definitely for alumni and or locals in that region. Either you were caught up in it as a kid. It's kind of like, I think it's like any regional sports. You get caught up in it as a kid for some reason or another. When it's collegiate ball, it's because you knew somebody that played. It was an older sibling or a cousin or an uncle, or it's just because of proximity to that college. Maybe you live in that college town, or you live adjacent to that college town, and you're so used to, maybe you grew up and you partied in that town and you knew people and you have stories, and so it's a different type of allegiance, if you will. And so I think it's all part of, when we need more stuff like that. We need less things like politics that divide us. We need more things like sports that bring us together. And yes, it's okay to be on opposite teams, but at the end of the day, you should be able to say good game. And you know what? That's what's missing from politics. Again, we're not talking about politics, but that's what's missing from politics. Us being able to compete, have a difference of opinion, root for the other side, and then at the end of the day say good game.
I think, Paul, that one other thing that really matters in this situation is, while I'm a big fan of college sports and I derive some income from it and a lot of joy from it, I also think that we need to keep some things in better perspective. There's, I have to sit here and question, if you're a 60-year-old alumnus of, Missouri State University, and your self-worth depends on what a 19-year-old does on the gridiron or what an 18-year-old does on the basketball court, you got a problem. These people who forget that these are people's children, they're there to get an education, they're there to learn about life as well as to play a game. They're not there for the entertainment of the alumni. They're there to help put some focus on the institution, which does a lot more than sports. And the process that college sports are going through right now, I think, is torturous, and I think it's dangerous, and I think it's going to have to change, and not too many years down the line. Every coach that I work with, current or former, as a talent stats provider, I have asked the question this year, 2 questions I've asked them. Could you coach today in this NIL driven environment? And every last one of them said no. The second thing that I've asked them is, what's going to happen to college sports, in particular things like basketball and track, when we shut down immigration in this country? And we just literally close the border. And we know that that day is on the horizon. It may not last very long if it happens, but it's on the horizon. And if you put down the rosters of these college teams, there might be players, and they might still get visas from Australia. You might still get a visa from Sweden, but they're not going to be anybody coming in from Nigeria.
Right. And just to let you know, Ralph, your thing started happening at like 17 minutes in. So I'm going to see if I can mute you in between, but I'm not sure how to do that. So
okay, well, let's do the best we can, and I'm going to leave it to Michael to do much of the talking about this. I'll introduce what I initially started to make a program out of, make an episode, was the 1962 Giants. And I was just old enough to really understand. I was born in 1946 and lost the team to San Francisco. And the Mets were there, but I was just old enough to understand how great they were. Michael, start with Willie. Maybe say a few words about Willie, that because we haven't talked on air since his passing. He's missed every day. I even have my old New York Giant emblem on. It's not a Met. It's a New York emblem. It's curved differently than the Mets were. Give me an idea of what you think of the 1962 Giants.
Well, let me first take a moment to reflect on Willie. John Shea, dear friend of mine, just over the Chronicle to the San Francisco Standard, wrote the definitive book with Willie's cooperation towards the end of Willie's life. And John said, "You may not realize this, but Willie Mays was your friend. He was everybody. He just looked at life that way." And when I think about that, it comes home to me because the Mays family specifically asked for myself and one other official scorer to attend the private family celebration ballpark and the party afterwards. And honestly, I had spoken to Willie maybe 5 times in my life, maybe a total of 7. How the family even existed, I don't know. But I'm deeply grateful for the opportunity. I was able to talk on Michael at something at the ceremonies to talk to him about what Willie meant to me, because my literal earliest memory in life, my living memory, is watching the cat. I was a little over 3 years. And then we fast forward to 1962, and you look at a scene. You know, players are in their prime in their early 30s, right? Willie was 31 in 1962. He had a WAR of 10 and a half of a replacement. One of the highest numbers. The entire offense had a WAR of 40. One of the 19 players on it had a quarter. 49 home runs, 380 bases. Those numbers are the National League. Played in 102 of their 165 games. Made the final out in the World Series in San Francisco. The impact.
Michael, let me just say one thing. The competition at that time was the best it ever was in my lifetime in baseball, because expansion hadn't really come into view, into play, and it wasn't as watered down. He was playing with the best of the Negro League players in their prime as well. So he was unbelievable, huh?
Right. I mean, that team had some. The first thing you noticed is that at 31, he was the oldest player on the team.
Right. Wow.
He was the oldest player on the regular offense. There were a couple of pitchers that were a little older than him. Stu Miller and Jack Sanford were a little bit older. Don Larson, but you know the. What I remember a couple of things. I remember the Giants making a trade for Ed Bailey, I believe, around the middle of May. To give him a veteran to back up young rookie Tom Haller, who played 99 himself at 25 and he's in a 3-point. The shocker on that, Felipe Alou, second with a 5.3, right behind him. The guy we just didn't think of that much as being an offensive star, and it was Jimmy Davenport. Davenport had a WAR of 5, which would put him on an all-star team these days. 144 games, he only hit 14 home runs, 58 runs, but his OPS plus was up in the 130s, and that's a pretty solid number for a guy who really wasn't known as a power hitter. He was a contact player, a brilliant defense.
But he could play some defense as well.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely brilliant.
Right. Now, the double play combination was just good enough to win with. I think Hiller was not all that great in the field, and Jose was the equivalent of Santana when he played with the Mets. just good enough to win. They weren't great, but as you say, the catching with Bailey and Haller, left field, McCovey platooning with basically
Harvey Keene,
Harvey Wallbanger.
Yeah.
That helped. And the guys on the bench, Moda and Matty Alou, went on to have, as did most every outfielder that the Giants supplied the National League with, great careers. Moda as a pinch hitter, Matty had an excellent on base percentage, that sort of thing. Pretty damn good team.
Yeah, I mean, Matty Alou in his age 23 year, he only played about 75 games, got a couple hundred at bats that year, but he had an OPS of almost 750. Willie McCovey played in 91 games, mostly in left field, and had an OPS of 960. 960. That would have put him at the top of the entire team, with the exception of that Mays guy who one tick below 1,000 OPS season.
He was in most years unreal, but people don't realize he had two primes, one with New York and one in San Francisco. And I think moving to San Francisco made a man out of him. He was so dependent on Leo DeRocher that he didn't get along well with Rigney. I wonder if you have any. I never spoke to the man beyond hello, but do you have any idea how they got along when Rigney became manager?
I really don't. What I do know is they were teammates,
Right.
So they shared the field together, and that's always going to be a different relationship when you're brought up out of the minor leagues and you're a scared kid and you're breaking color barriers in cities that you're going into and all the rest that was going on there. You're going to be dependent on somebody who says they're going to take care of you and protect you. You're going to be dependent on somebody who acts that way. Now you're going over, and now all of a sudden you're working for someone who used to work alongside us. That's a different dynamic. It's always going to take some getting to, I think.
Moving to San Francisco wasn't easy for Willie on a number of reasons. He couldn't buy a house. He could afford a house, but he couldn't buy a house in a very prestigious neighborhood. And he was treated a lot like Bill Russell was treated, in a little less severe than Bill Russell was treated in Boston. But they took to Orlando Cepeda and McCovey from the get-go, and it took Willie a long time comparatively to make it known and show people just how great Willie was.
I think it's little brother syndrome in a lot of ways. I think what you're going on here is, Cepeda and McCovey were San Francisco all the way. They may or may not have been drafted or signed when the team was still in New York, but they were viewed as San Franciscans, and Willie was seen just a little bit as a carpetbagger. No fault of his own. He's not the guy who said, "Hey, let's uproot and go to San Francisco." He's
right.
An employee. He went where the work was, and we've all done that at one time or another in our lives. But I think that it took a while for San Francisco to embrace Willie as their own, because you got to remember, San Francisco has a pretty long, proud history of sending ball players to major leagues. from Dirty Al Gallagher to Jim Fricossi to all the DiMaggio brothers, Frank Lazare. I mean, just so many guys.
Oh, Silvera.
Bobby Brown. I mean, so many guys.
Jerry Coleman, Gil McDougall.
Yep.
Tell the story about December 3rd.
Sorry about that. Go ahead.
Would you be good enough to tell the story about December 3rd as it relates to Alameda?
December 7th.
December 7th, I'm sorry.
Yes. Charlie Silvera and Jerry Coleman and Bobby Brown were all members of a semi-pro team sponsored by Keneally's Bar. They were called the Keneally Yankees. And they all wound up being selected by and signed to contract by the Yankees. But on that December 7th, they were playing a game in Washington Park on the west end of Alameda when the news came that Pearl Harbor had been attacked. And they finished that game, and Charlie and Joe DiMaggio both volunteered for the United States Army and were assigned together in Hawaii. They were together for about a year and a half. And Jerry Coleman, of course, trained before, became a pilot, became the only Major League Baseball player combat actor in 2 wars. He served in 2 wars. He was an instructor, pilot instructor in one of those. Jerry actually flew combat missions both in World War II and was prouder of the Marine Corps Hall than in the baseball.
Right. Different era of war heroes. It was a popular war in the sense that there was no, it wasn't like Vietnam and what have you. But
well, we knew what we were fighting for, Ralph. We were fighting for our existence. It's hard to convince somebody that you're fighting for their existence 8,000 miles away in a jungle.
Exactly. And we came to the war late. It wasn't like we jumped into it.
Same as World War One. World War began in 1914. We joined in 1970. World War II began September 1st of 1939, although some would argue that maybe even earlier than that. And we came to it basically in 1942.
Exactly. And say what you want about Roosevelt, and Social Security was great, but as a Jew, he caused a lot of deaths, really. Joseph Kennedy was akin to that. And just a political note that doesn't involve Trump. How about that? Hey, Paulie, you want to run some stuff, if you would, and Michael and I can take a breath. Paulie.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Sorry, I was monitoring your sound. So absolutely, we're gonna do a commercial. I'm gonna do this, and we'll be right after this break. But this is a little thing that pays the bills, folks. No, it absolutely has to do with your microphone crapping out anywhere from now 20 minutes to 30 minutes into a show. So we just need to get together, you and I. So let's go into a commercial break, and we'll be right back after this, guys. Apparently so, because even that's missing for me. Isn't that great? No, I was gonna just run a little commercial for our shows, but I will figure that out in a minute or two. But I'm glad that we could take a break and let everybody have a black screen for at least 3 to 5 seconds to have that moment of silence for us producers. So thank you, appreciate that.
Okay.
That's it's a mini vacation for me. It really is.
Okay.
So,
Well,
but we are going. I'll get that going, but we can we can go back into the conversation. Sorry, guys. And somebody's more popular than I am. Somebody's getting more messages than I am. But we're back. Zig, go ahead, man.
Okay. Michael, let's talk about the future a little bit of baseball. Do you, like I feel, that the kids whose memories will depend on when they grow up, they will be ticket buyers or not, and they're not given enough memories to build upon to become future fans? The games start at night, the All-Star game, the World Series, it's all, you can't keep a kid up that late. Do you think they're killing the goose that lays the golden egg, which is basically memories?
That's not an easy question to answer. I think that there's a lot of dynamics that are going into this, and I think all of sports, like all of American society, is being driven by a capitalist ethic, whether you agree with it or you don't agree with it. When the Stone family bought the Giants, they bought it for less than $1 million, 100 plus. Today, the franchise is about $5 billion. And that's a little bit more inflation will account. The reason we're up so much with TV contracts, somehow came to the conclusion that if $500 million even was enough for ESPN, we'd walk away from it. It must be nice to be that flat that you can walk away from a major network $500 billion in revenue for your 30 years. I hope they have something in the background. Drastic change. The broadcast industry, the loss of regional sports networks is changing things. We touched on gambling a while ago. You've got the FanDuel network now. Half of the ads in the stadium and half of the ads online and half on TV or for gambling sites. So everything about the game down to the next pitch is being monitored. And I think that's your goal. You're going to remember the six-way parlay hit more than you're going to remember Felix Mantilla hit in 5 double plays or created 5 double plays. It's a different thing that draws people to the game now. In adrenaline rush of betting and winning, the adrenaline rush of proving your superiority to the crowd, rather than the adrenaline rush of being in the crowd and having your team prove its superiority to the other team. So I think the nature is going to be very different. Because of that, I don't know if the process of nostalgia is going to work anywhere close to the past. At the same time, that, when I was a kid, and a long time ago, in the 1960s, this team that we were talking about, the 62 Giants, had Ladies' Day. I'm not a fan of the concept of Ladies' Day. Every day is Ladies' Day. Every day is Ladies' Day. People do this, and no different. But it was 50 cents to get people in bleachers. That was real baseball. They had an opportunity, very, very little, to get exposed to the spectacle, the experience. the whole process. Once you get used to it, it becomes expect to do for yourself. What's happening in baseball is very much like what's happening in movie theaters. Things were moving in one direction with streaming already, and then the pandemic came, and everything was on for 3 years. People got out of the habit of leaving their houses, and now nobody wants. Now people want to stay home. They want to be locked in. We're looking at the amount of money spending to have them. I might as well spend my time here rather than staying in a hotel room.
Yeah. Hey, how we running on time, Paulie?
We're getting there, so I think we're gonna do definitely a commercial spot. Let's do this now. Let's see if we can do it. We'll be back right after this break, guys.
Monday 1 to 3 p.m. Junkyard Rat. Monday 4 to 6 p.m. Ghetto Poet. Tuesdays 11 to 1 p.m. Zig in the Zone. See you on our channel. Edge Studios Online. Keep standing up.
La Prestine for a life so bright. Ridges, fine lines, brings your skin to life. With herbs from the east, a blend so pure. Stay youthful, feel great, of that we're sure. La Prestine, the essence of youth. Sophisticated style, elegance and truth. Raise a glass to health, to joy, to life. La Prestine, your youthful delight.
For a life so bright, it's La France Gin. And right now, you can get your own bottle of La France right here in San Francisco at Total Wine and More, or online at lafrancegin.com.
All right, we're back here live in studio, or live in mobile studio.
Paulie, let me just take a second to ask you what people can do. You mentioned that the studio needs a little bit of help.
Yes.
Would you give people the opportunity, if you will, if they will, to help you? Website, phone number, whatever it takes.
Thanks, I appreciate it, Ralph. So what we're looking for is some help. We need help maintaining and keeping the doors open here at Edge Studios, and it takes everything from volunteers in studio to help us run the equipment, to learn the equipment. We also need money. Quite honestly, we need money. We need money to keep the doors open. We need money to maintain equipment. We're upgrading cameras here in Studio 1 and then soon in Studio 2. We're trying to do whatever we can. So we look for your help. We can, down below this podcast, we'll add a QR code for our Cash App or our Venmo or PayPal. You could give directly to Edge Studios, or you could reach out to us by sending us an email. That's right, edgestudiosonline@gmail.com. That's edgestudiosonline@gmail.com, and let us know how you would be, how you would like to help us out, financially, physically, or even at this point, Ralph, I'll take emotional support.
Okay.
I just need somebody to hold me at night. So that's what we're doing,
you know
folks.
Me, I'm always
So
there with
anything
the
you can do,
papers.
and of course, go like our social medias. Go like Edge Studios on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, you name it. It's Edge Studios Online. Our tagline is "Keep Standing Up," because we want people to keep standing up for what they believe in. Right, Ralph?
Absolutely. And my friend Eric Lenneberg, and I have been communicating, and he basically had a meme he's going through some tough times physically. That something to do with getting up off the canvas. And I'm real proud about Jerry Feidelberg, George Grimm, who are, as an example, who are coming back from some illnesses. And Michael, you'll be happy to hear that Jerry Feidelberg is on the way to recovery. And that thrills me, let me tell you. So reaching out to you guys, George and Jerry, proud of you. Of course, my friend and dear friend, oldest friend, went in the Air Force because I did, got Agent Orange because he went to Vietnam while I sat in California. So you can imagine the guilt I'm feeling, and not guilt, regret, when he develops ALS. And he's in the final surgery stages of that. And just want to say, reach out to you again, Bert. I hope you're listening. Peg, put the radio up or whatever it is. Let him hear he's loved. And life sucks sometimes. How about that? Is my final saying of the day.
That's what I like about you, Ralph. You always leaving a positive note. That's what I love about
Can I
you.
balance that out?
Yeah.
Can I remind everyone that one of the most brilliant human beings ever to walk the earth, Stephen Hawking, suffered from ALS for 52 years.
I know.
Not beatable, but you can survive a remarkably long time if you have a remarkably strong constitution. And I wish you friend all the time.
Well, let's hope he survives. He's in hospice right now. And, there aren't many of those who survived 52 years, but he contributed to life, as Marty does in any stage that he's in. His love and his family love, better alive than dead.
Yep.
Okay. Boy, that was a happy ending.
Not exactly one that you would find in a massage parlor, but it was a happy ending.
Well, I did what I could to lighten the mood.
We appreciate you. Any last words there, Mr. Duca? Where can we catch everything that you do?
I have one of the smallest social media footprints on the planet right now. I lurk a little bit on X. I'm on Blue Sky with my name, because my name is fairly unique in this country. There's two other people that I know of with my name. One owns a steak restaurant in Rhode Island, and the other one is the Archbishop of Dallas, and I would never be confused for either of them.
Right.
I do a little bit on Facebook, but mostly I keep to myself, because working for the commissioner's office, that's kind of a condition of employment. We're really, we're allowed to discuss and celebrate the game, but we're not really allowed to do what you might call insightful commentary.
Right. Cast much of an opinion.
Right.
You have to say impartial. You have to be like a judge. You're impartial.
I probably got to the edge of the precipice with my feet sticking over in my comment about giving up a $550 million a year contract to ESPN.
Oh, there you go. Well, that's what I like about you. You're always willing to throw caution to the wind, right? So,
a little bit. I do like being employed.
Well, there you go. Yeah, it's nice to have food in your mouth, a roof over your head, clothes on. Yeah, it's a good thing. Michael, thank you for joining us, and Zig. I noticed that his echo went away because he went away. He disconnected from us, but thanks for joining us. Please come back again. We love having you on. It's always insightful. And even if you feel that you're holding back a little bit, it's okay. We dig it. So again, thank you for joining us. For myself, Zig, and Michael Duca, we'll see you next week in the zone, okay? Every week, 11 to 1. And we're out of here. See you guys. Thanks, Michael.
See you opening day.
All righty. And